This has been me for the past few months thinking, okay, yes, I agree to do this. What am I going to talk about? So, right. So thanks for inviting me to be I'm going to get my notes here. Thanks for inviting me to be following the illustrious footsteps of previous speakers. Um, Please don't expect me to be anything erudite or learned. Um, Basically, what I'm planning to do is just ramble on a bit about who I am, what I do, how I do it, and give you some ideas how you might incorporate them into your business. And along the way, I'm going to answer the four questions I get asked most when I do business events. So, so first of all, okay, background. The answer to that is yes. I've always drawn. I cannot remember not having a pencil in my hand. I had lunch with my sister yesterday, and she reminded me that she remembers me at 2 years old, wandering in the house with a pencil in my hand, drawing on any available surface. I've always said if you go back to the house I grew up in and took the wallpaper off, you would see Jim Barker cartoons. Girls are getting higher and higher up the wall. So a bit like that. It's just something like I say, drawing is something I've always done. And I did it through school, I did it through high school, and I ended up going to Napier in Edinburgh 50 years ago when I was still at college. And I did a course in design for print. Now, this is going back pre-BC, before computers. This was the good old days when it was electroset, rubbed on, paste up, stick up, and what have you. And did a 2 year course, and I said it was designed for print. Walked out of there with my graphic design degree and walked into a job with my local newspaper, the Falkirk Herald, designing adverts and with headings and stuff like that. This is kind of where I got introduced into cartoons professionally because I then got a spare artist. They decided they wanted to do a topical cartoon, and this was my first sort of professional cartoon thing in there. Um, I was also at that period very much into science fiction, and I got involved with science fiction fandom, who produced these amateur magazines called fanzines, and I did cartoons, and that's gradually where whatever cartoon style I had developed. And as I say, this was while I was working at the Herald. And then gradually they came around one day, 8 years afterwards, and said, we are £1.75 million in debt. There are going to have to be some redundancies. This was on the Monday. And to cut a long story short, I took a voluntary redundancy. I know on Friday with my punk package thinking, oh, what have I done? And what I did do was start up my own graphic design business circa 1982. Started out from Falkirk, I have a little office in Falkirk, did graphic design, did the usual suspects, um, brochures, advertising, corporate identity, all that type of material. But I always did cartoons as part of the repertoire. It was like 90% graphics, um, and 10% cartoons. And gradually what happened was the cartoon side took over and gradually got bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, we got my notes here. Well, when we started going to business events, I started being introduced as, here's Jim Barker, he's the cartoon man, and then gradually became my USP. It's interesting though, I got one or two reactions when I go introduced as a cartoonist. I go, oh, that's interesting, tell me more. Or I go, looking over the shoulder and wanted to speak to somebody else. There's a sector of people who have what I call cartoonophobia, which is a fear of using cartoons in case it makes them out of the business look down market. And I blame the Beano. We have a culture in the UK where cartoons are for kids. They're kids' stuff, they're comics and what have you. Whereas in the rest of the world, it's accepted as an art form, if you like. If you go to like France or Italy or Japan, they use cartoons or illustrations for, you know, advertising promotions, whatever. Um, So this is what I'm trying to do is persuade people to use cartoons because cartoons to me are a great marketing tool, a great communication. So I did like everybody else. I went to chat GCP and said, give me reasons to use cartoons. And they came with a whole list. I can't be bothered with it. So here are the main ones I use. Impact, because cartoons are something that are unusual. And then, as I said, they're more attention getting than straight words or photographs. It's something unusual. Humor. I'm a great believer that humor is a great vehicle for getting a message across, whether it's advertising, promotion, health and safety, whatever. Give a bit of a smile and it makes people feel about your message and it does make you feel good about you. And if you make people smile, it breaks down barriers and makes you feel more welcoming, friendly, and get your message across with a smile and not a bludgeon. Cartoons can be used in almost every business sector, um, health and safety, career security, accountancy. Um, the strangest job I've ever had done was a guy who wrote wills. You wouldn't think of a will writer, um, death, and use cartoons. Well, the cartoons are a great way of showing what happens when something goes wrong. So for the will writer, we use it to show what happens if you don't make a will. So we had two people tearing a painting apart, saying, "No, he wanted me to have it. He wanted me to have it." So they're why they're using cartoons. Um, lost my place. I took all my notes and I've lost my one now. They're also very good at condensing a complex message down into a simple image. Um, for as I say here, and again, they don't have to be elaborate to get the message across. The simpler the better. Um, I was speaking to Nick earlier on about you don't have to be a professional cartoonist or an illustrator to get a message. If you can just turn it into an emoji or a very simple line drawing, it's a great way of getting a message across, and it saves screens and screens of words. So these are ones which I did for motivation. So they are very good. I've done an awful lot of cartoon work for trainers and training sessions. They again just using humour to get your message across. I should mention that the little one in the middle here, the pink one, that's my most pirated cartoon ever. At the last count, there was about 150 websites that pirated this cartoon. And you think I'll get some money out of it? No, not a penny. But it's just some way of, getting across. Cartoon, a cartoon like mascot or for a character for your business is a great way to personify your business. The little dog I use for my logo, um, my wife wanted me to demonstrate how the iPad worked. So I did this very much in 10 seconds of scribble. And I've now adopted it and perfected it, and that's what I use as my logo. So a very simple mascot, just to people associated with your business. It's also very good for merchandising. If you have like a little dog or something like that, and you can use it on your t-shirts, your branding, whatever. Uh, very simple, very straightforward. Children's books. Well, obviously Claire here knows about children's books. I've done two or three children's books. Um, Again, characters are some of the ones I've done. Amazing. Don't still do these as much. I've seen there's video scribbles for marketing to go on your website, little animated films um, that be drawn by hand. These are again another way of getting a message across. And you might just add some animation just to get again an attention getting. This is a client of mine who did lectures on computer security. I used animation and cartoons as a way of getting the message across. How do you draw cartoons? Here's the cartoon. You draw in pencil and then you do it in ink overs. So this is how a cartoon is born. You might like to think about a personalized cartoon as a presentation for a client or a friend or whatever. Um, just a way of saying thank you or congratulations at your birthday or you're retiring or whatever. Um, there's also I had an inquiry from a guy in Australia who thought this was a good idea for what he did was he sold tractor equipment. And what he wanted to do is to do, when somebody bought a tractor, he got a cartoon of himself in front of the tractor and he just gave him as a presentation thing to go away. Um, or I've seen people who do little caricatures of themselves to go on their business cards. This is a way of attracting attention. Again, whatever. Um, this is something I did a while back when I was trying to explore, which is live caricaturing at events. If you run an exhibition, you go to an exhibition stand, employ a caricaturist just to sit and draw caricatures of people as a way of getting them onto your stand. And then that's when you jump on them and try to sell them things. Or if you're having a party or something like that, just have a guy in the corner doing a caricature. It's a great way of, and you can brand the caricatures with your name and address and well, yeah, congratulations, thanks for coming, etc. Give it away just a souvenir. Um, now, Derek is a chap to talk to about visual recording. I tried it twice, I think, and both times my head exploded. It's just not my area at all. I just can't cope up with listening on one ear and drawing. But Derek has said, it's a very good way of um, keeping a record of what you've done so that people can keep it as a souvenir and whatever. But uh, talk to Derek, not me. Okay? Thank you. And thank you to Derek for letting me use one of his drawings. If you're doing a presentation, we're all kind of very tired of PowerPoint, PowerPoint, PowerPoint. Somewhere during in the middle of the presentation, you think you're losing people's attention. Just put a cartoon in to wake them up or get their attention back. Where do you get your ideas from? This is the other question I always get asked. Um, I usually say I get it from a warehouse in Birmingham. I send them £20 a month, and they send me a whole batch of new ideas. Um, but really and honestly, Julie, I have no idea where they come from. They can be walking on the street and something will strike attention. I've been doing this for a long time now, and it's the strangest things that spark attention. I'm going to give you an example. It was a very hot summer a few years back, and it was literally boiling. And we went into Tesco, and we noticed how much cooler it was in the refrigerated aisle, which we came up with this idea, which, and that's one of the ideas. But the other question I was going to ask is, what comes first, the drawing or the caption? And the answer is yes, one or the other. I can work either way. Sometimes a picture will come to mind, and then you think of a caption, or you think of the caption, and you have a picture. But usually the whole thing comes together. It's like a whole entity, if you like. It's like a whole scenario. Um, Again, I can't explain it. I just know it's something I can do. But just for a bit of fun, I put a little cartoon in the chat, and I thought what you might like to do is have a chat, think about what the caption is for what there might be for this cartoon. I did this as for an accountant who was having opening a new office. And what I suggested was I could do this as a competition to give out to the people who come up with a caption for them, maybe give a bottle of champagne. But also, if you do a newsletter, or if you just do, no, that's not a podcast, but something online, just put a wee cartoon in. It's very serious, just put something, a little bit of fun in, like the bit end, but then use a 10 with a bit of a wee funny story, just to light things up. So you'll see the cartoon in the chat, do and go and I'll be interested to see what you do. Right, if kinds of format cartoons. Hold on. Right. Right, the different kinds of cartoons are the one I showed you, the previous one, is what's known as a spot cartoon. That's the one with the image and the caption underneath. The next one is a 3 or 4 panel comic strip. And I like it, like the Fast Show, where it's a very quick sketch, but it's set up, punchline. And that's what a 3 panel cartoon strip is. The full half-page strip is like an extended one. And then you have the A4 or full-page cartoon, which is a long story, and it can be, anything you do. But again, that's set up, punchline, set up, punchline. These are different formats. You can use this for advertising, promotions, as a health and safety. The next question I always get asked, especially what they played recently, is how are you coping with AI? Because obviously it's rising. And my answer was just to go hands over my ears and go, hope it'll go away. But it's not going like going to. Um, uh, and this was something I came up with. It was just, this is the way things are going with computers taking over all this thing. So, but then recently I started thinking, well, it's not going to go away. Let's have a look at it and see if I can use it to incorporate it in my work. So what I decided, I'm not going to try using it to actually create artwork, but if I can use it to enhance the cartoons in one way or another, like photos, I can use it as a tool, a bit like Photoshop. So I took one of my old cartoons and shoved it through AI, and
Get your action plan here.
that was the very first one I did. And I kind of took it on a little bit more. And remember the cartoon about AI? I was generated from that one cartoon. So I say it's not going to go away. I may as well use it. Or the one in the freezer section.
You two need to leave this aisle immediately. This is not a seating area.
And this is one of my cartoons of I do on t-shirts and what have you.
Oh, this rain is relentless. I'm soaked to the bone. Aye, and this wind cuts right through you. How much further do you reckon?
All I did was I put a cartoon up and they took on from there. So if you can't beat them, join them. I may be um, having a fight, but at least I'm going to go down fighting. Right, coming towards the end. As I mentioned, I have several internet shops where you can buy t-shirts, and I do a lot of stuff which is in mostly Scots and Scots expats and etc. So if you know anybody who's wanting a Scottish themed Christmas gift or whatever, you've got that or material like that. And I hate to say, I'm not treading on Caroline's toes here with But we're coming up to that time of year where you have to think about Christmas cards and what have you. Um, so if you're a business, you might have to think about your sending out your Christmas card, whether you actually send a physical card or whether you want to do just a image, which you send as an email or what have you. Um, Happy to talk to you about that sort of thing. Or if you want something else a bit more elaborate, this is something I've tried to get off the ground a bit well. This is incorporating caricatures of your staff or whatever. You send us this Merry Christmas from such and such a business. Right, I think that's me bored you enough. I'd like to say thank you for inviting me to come on. I hope you find that interesting. I hope you've got something there you can maybe take away. If I can help you with anything that you want to talk about, I'm happy to have a one-to-one. And as they say in my neck of the woods, that's all, folks.